I've wanted to make this video for a while. It's Mama T here, and I'm quite disturbed by the amount of cancer that is happening to loved ones and folks around me. And I wanted to offer up some tips to help, regardless of what your situation is. If you're currently dealing with a disease as challenge, or if you have predisposition in your family, or if you're just looking to avoid having problems later on, there are 10 simple tips I've got to offer you to help you to not end up unwell and requiring intensive treatment for cancer. The nice thing about these tips is they also help with any other chronic ailments. So when you do them, you are ultimately helping your body to prevent illness in a lot of different ways. So my first caveat here is if you believe that people get sick because it is a punishment or a test from God, if you believe dumb luck is why people get sick, or if you believe genetics is the primary predisposition and the reason that you get sick, if you believe that those things are more powerful than you doing things in your life to be able to prevent it, then I'd suggest don't even watch this video, because my personal belief, and my belief from having both been a holistic nutritionist for 10 years and my own health journeys prior to that for about 30 years, are that there are so many determining factors in who gets sick and who doesn't, that if we change the way we live and the way we eat, we are able to help to mitigate some of these things. One of the things with cancer in particular is that if you have a genetic predisposition to something, you may or may not end up with that problem if those genetic markers are not turned on. And there are various things that can turn them on, including things like chemicals that we might ingest, or chemicals in the environment, high stress over long periods of time. So those kinds of things literally flip the switch to allow that disease to take over. So if we can avoid doing that, you can have a genetic predisposition but never end up with the actual disease. And we all know people who are like that. People who might smoke for their whole life and not ever end up ill. Sometimes it's a matter of them having other things that they're doing. They might be eating clean food, clean water. They might be getting out for exercise every day. So the thing that they're doing is actually bad for them, but they're not flipping that switch because they're not actually doing a bunch of things that are wrong. So I'm going to give a quick rundown because I like having that kind of a summary in videos that I see. So I'm going to talk about the 10 different tips. So I'm going to put sleep as number one. Hydration with clean water is the second. Reducing toxins both in your environment as well as the toxins you might ingest. Reducing stress in your life. Daily appropriate exercise, and that will be different for each person. Encouraging lymphatic drainage in your body. Nourishing your body with good, healthy food. Finding purpose, joy, and connection, because that also ultimately reduces stress. Encouraging elimination, and that could be elimination in a lot of different aspects, and supplementing as necessary. I would also add as a different adjunct, and that would be getting your health checks for both teeth and body. Reducing inflammation in the body is a great way to help to prevent that stress that might trigger cancer to come rising up. So by making sure that you don't have infections in your body and having those checks that allow things to be caught early will also help ultimately. But that is, in my mind, goes without say. So I'm going to just go a little bit in depth. I'm not going to go super deep into anything. Sleep is number one in my books because all healing happens in sleep. Your body can only really do one thing well at a time. So if you are digesting, you aren't healing. If you are up and moving, you're not really healing. It is when you are sleeping at night that everything is shut down and your body then gets out the little cleanup crew and starts cleaning up debris and different toxins and the process of detoxifying things. It can sometimes be a mystical thing in people's minds, but oftentimes it's something in your bloodstream that shouldn't be there, that either you have white blood cells that'll engulf those things and then haul them out, or your liver might dismantle a chemical. These processes happen better when you're sleeping. So sleep will be different for everybody. There's that 8 hours a night. That isn't necessarily what somebody should get. If you wake up in the morning and you feel refreshed and you're ready to go for the day, then you know what? That's enough sleep for you. If you don't, do what you need to do to be able to fix that. That can be with supplementation. It could be melatonin. It could be magnesium. It could be L-theanine. It could be choosing to not eat carbs, refined carbs before bed, so you're not having a blood sugar low that wakes you up. It could be a number of different things. Do what you need to do to get good sleep. Number 2 is have good clean water in good quantities. And again, everybody is different. You're going to drink so that you are peeing regularly. Some people encounter challenges to that. So I've dealt with counseling teachers where I've said, you know what, you're going to hyperhydrate in the morning. So you might get your 4 glasses of water before you go to work. And then you can't go to the bathroom while you're at work, so you're not drinking any water then, but you've got, another 4 glasses of water that you're going to consume before bedtime. So you're still going to get that hydration. Your body can hold hydration in, so you can go longer periods of time without hydration as long as you're hydrating at other times. Little pinch of, Celtic salt or some kind of pure salt like Redmond salt can also help to hold that in your body. So hydration is important because your blood literally gets thicker in your veins, and literally everything that's going to help to prevent cancer cells from taking hold in your body is going to be flowing through those veins to be able to fix that. So you want that flow of blood to be really, really effective and powerful, and not that your body is having to restrict blood flow because you're not hydrated. So make sure that you hydrate. The next thing would be to reduce toxins in your environment and as well as your food. So if you read a label on food and it's got chemicals listed in there, think twice. Those chemicals may be a nutrient. It might be a nutrient that isn't really readily absorbable. So that's the other thing, is getting nutrients from your food is better than having to have that added after the fact. There are a lot of chemicals, food colorings, those kinds of things added to food that have detrimental effects and have actually been banned in other countries, but we still allow them here. So adopt the idea that you want foods that are as pure as possible going into your body, and then you're not bringing in things that may flip one of those switches. Cleaning up the environment as well. Cleaning products, and also, unfortunately, skincare and that kind of product, they aren't always as well regulated as foods. So there are carcinogenic things that are in cleaning products and are also in body care products. So again, adopt as clean as possible. Use vinegar, use baking soda. If you do need a chemical to clean something, protect yourself from breathing in that item, and avoid using it if you possibly can, because the more toxin load you're dealing with, the more likely you are, again, to flip those switches. We all have cancer cells floating through our bodies. They are our own cells, and they're cells that decide, for whatever reason, that they're not going to obey the programmed death that they're supposed to have. They decide they want to be immortal, and they are going to be immortal and multiply. So what we want to do is prevent our own cells from having that change happen. And then at the point that happens, then they decide they're going to colonize an organ and create a tumor. So we want to make sure that we don't have things coming into our body that are going to promote that. The next thing is reduce stress. The reason we need to reduce stress is that stress chemicals in the body, so when you are stressed, there are chemicals that run through your body. They utilize a lot of nutrients. And we don't often, when we're stressed, say, oh, well, I'm stressed, I'm going to eat a lot more nourishing diet. Oftentimes when we're stressed, we might drink, We might eat garbage food because that's what gives us comfort. But the problem is, if you are stressed, you have a huge, probably double the nutrient requirement as if you're when you're relaxed, because all these chemicals require the raw materials to make them. So if you are running through a lot of nutrients and you're not getting sufficient nutrients, that stress can then create a situation where some body systems, like your immune system, will start to get reduced. So there is actual valid evidence that stress reduces immunity. So where possible, reduce that stress. Assess your stress. Sometimes we have gotten so used to something that we don't even recognize it as a stress. And certainly lack of sleep is a stress to the body. And a lot of people have been without sufficient sleep for years. So it's something that isn't even on the radar, or you might not recognize that, you're over exercising. That becomes a stress. So you have to catalog your own stresses in your life and then look at what you can do to change those things. The next one would be daily appropriate exercise. It's going to be different for everybody. Somebody who exercises a lot to the point that your body is thinking that you're running away from some kind of danger will create stress and causes problems. But basically, we want to get out and move our bodies, because by moving our bodies, we are getting in more oxygen. Oxygen will help to get that metabolism functioning so that you're able to get those immune cells to where they need to go. Oftentimes people relax after they've had good exercise, they sleep better. So an appropriate exercise would be different for each person. It could be a walk every day for somebody. For another person, it could be doing weight training. So again, you maintain muscle mass by weight training, but you also don't trigger that response in the body that it's danger you're trying to get away from. The next one would be encouraging lymphatic drainage. So we don't often think about lymphatics, but essentially lymphatics is similar to your circulatory system, but doesn't have a heart pump to pump it. So the pumping of the lymphatics happens from muscle movement, or when temperature changes happen and your body has constriction and relaxation happening. So change in temperature will help to get those lymphatics moving. So we all know about swollen glands in your neck. If you're sick, those would be those lymphatic glands, and they run all through the body. So the more you're able to move, the better able you are to pump those toxins and garbage. So essentially your little immune cells bring debris into those glands. So when you're sick with a sore throat, your immune cells are bringing those dead cells, the virus cells or the bacterial cells, into the lymphatics. And then those have to be drained down towards your heart. So a few things you can do to help with your lymphatics would be to get out for your daily exercise, because the moving of muscles will help that. Alternating hot and cold, so in a shower, or if you do a cold plunge and then a sauna, that kind of a thing. The other thing that's really good and very accessible for people is mini trampolines. So any kind of low impact bouncing, just like with a ketchup bottle where you're shaking it to be able to get that ketchup out, you're actually shaking those lymphatics to kind of get that out. So basically you want your body efficiently getting rid of those cells to your lymphatics and then getting them out of your body. The next one is nourishing your body. So we cannot function without all of the nutrients that we need in the run of a day. Ideally, you get it with your food. So one of the problems I see a lot is that people are consuming foods that have a limited range of nutrients, and they're eating them over and over and over again, and they are not getting those trace nutrients that they might need, that might come from fruits and vegetables or things like eggs or fish. So have a look at your diet. Talking to a holistic nutritional consultant or a dietitian to see about how you can fix that is probably the best way. But if you're not nourishing with pure food, things that are, one or two ingredient foods, reducing processed foods, because in many, many cases, if you've got sugar, salt, some of the seed oils, those kinds of things added, those bulk up your diet and then take away from things like nuts and fruits and vegetables that are going to give you that good dense nutrients that you require to have good functioning. So nourish your body as best you can, and if you are unwell, recognize that the more you choose foods that are empty of proper nutrition and calories, you are literally taking away um, the tools your body's going to use to fight that disease. And that's any disease, any chronic disease. You need those nutrients to be able to build good cells. And those good cells could be immune cells that are going to latch onto something and remove it from your body. It could be building new tissue after there's been damage from surgery. It could be getting over radiation. So tissues, cells are damaged. Those need to be removed. The damaged tissues are removed from the body. And you want to make sure you have all of the nutrients to build new cells in that area as well. That's going to be protein foods. It's going to be trace elements that come from things like nuts and seeds and good lean proteins, that kind of thing. It's also going to be good healthy fats because your body is made up of fat as well. So talk to a professional if you're not sure, but nourish your body. Find purpose, joy, and connection. So we as humans are wired for connection. Joy is also something that counteracts stress. Relaxation, because ideally when you're dealing with joy, you're going to be relaxing your body, and that will allow for those kinds of the happy chemicals, things like oxytocin that come in to help to create the optimal situation for you to be able to feel better and to be able to stay well and healed. So do those things that give you joy. And if it's been a while since you've had that feeling, talk to somebody if you need to. I mean, therapy is certainly a way to go. You can also harken back to your childhood. What used to make you feel good when you were a young kid? Did you do things back then that you might be able to do now? But make it a point to do that regularly on a daily basis. Now, one of the things that I used to talk to my clients when I was talking to nutritional clients, I would often have people who couldn't relax and they couldn't lose weight because they couldn't relax, and their bodies were literally holding on to the fat because it was essentially not knowing whether or not it was in a famine state. And at that point in time, we would do a 3-phase meditation. So basically just touching on each body part, acknowledging what that body part was feeling, not feeling the need to change it, just accepting. My feet are cold. My ankles, I can't feel them. My calves are a little sore from working out yesterday. Acknowledging all of the body parts, thinking about what is it that I'm thinking about while I'm doing this, and again, acceptance of where you're at. And then the third thing is, what is it that's thinking about what you're thinking? So I can talk about the 3-phase meditation at another time, but it doesn't have to be my little 3-phase meditation. But for my nurses, for example, who would only get a bathroom break, they could do that in the bathroom, and in 3 minutes they reset their body and they're relaxed and able to go back to work. So taking the time, especially if you're tense and stressed all the time, not taking the time to relax means that your body is not doing as well as it could be. So give yourself some relaxation breaks, give yourself some joy every run of the day, and also make valid connections with other humans. Humans or animals. I mean, animals can provide that for people who maybe have mistrust. The next thing is to encourage elimination, and that can be elimination both in your life and also in your body. So you want to make sure that when you go to the bathroom, things are easy, things go through. If you need help with any of those things, so drinking lots of water so that your urinary system works well, making sure that you are able to sweat so that your skin is actually letting out toxins as well. Constipation. If you've got constipation, you can talk to somebody at a health food store. There are things that you can get from your doctor as well, and if that works, great. But oftentimes something like high dose vitamin C can hit bowel tolerance and help give you that little extra push. Eat the foods that you need to be able to make sure that that happens. Because again, if our immune system is clearing things out of our body and it ends up in our bowels, the last thing you need is to have those things, the garbage essentially has been pulled out of your cells, and you don't want it sitting around for a long period of time in your colon, because again, that kind of thing can promote changes, and changes that can promote tumors. So you want to make sure you've got elimination. Emotions as well. If you're holding on to some crappy emotion, letting it out. They've now shown that tears have different composition, whether or not they're from stress or from sadness, from anger or from joy. So those chemicals are actually coming out of your eyes in your tears. So eliminate from your life the things that are not good for you. So that could mean having a good poop. It could mean going to the bathroom and having a pee. It could be having a good cry. And it might also mean eliminating things like clutter. It could be eliminating things like people who are not giving back to you. Elimination is super important. And then my last, number 10, is supplement as necessary. And as a holistic nutritionist, I can tell you that over the course of years and years, agriculture's changed, and the top reason for making changes to the kinds of food that we get have nothing to do with nutrients. It has primarily shelf life, transport, outer looks of foods. Nutrition has not been high on that list. So sometimes we need to supplement. And I'm a fan of not broad range supplementation, but knowing the things that you need. If you're vegetarian, you're going to want to get some B12 that's bioavailable. If you don't get out in the sun sufficiently, you're probably going to want some extra vitamin D. Studies with vitamin D have been done in regards to people who had poor outcomes with COVID during the pandemic. And, broad range, that a lot of people have vitamin D deficiencies. Ideally, if you're eating a really awesome diet, you're going to get everything you need. But if you're not, then a little bit of help can be important. Or if you have a health challenge, so for instance, if you've had teeth pulled or if you've had a broken bone, you may need extra supplementation to build that bone, because you're not just looking at getting calcium. You're going to look at, for bones, the whole bone complex, and that can mean boron, that can mean K2, that can mean D3. Getting a broad range supplement for that specific time frame can make all the difference in the world for the speed of healing. So those are my top 10. Now, they are simple. Every single one of them is simple. However, it might not be easy. And I've given them in the list of importance in my mind. However, if there is one of those tips that you think that you can do right now, just do it. Do one, get doing it on a regular basis, and then if you can add another one in a week or so, it will absolutely improve the outcome for you in regards to chronic illness. I'm very, very afraid because rates of things like cancer are going up. And I think the more people know and the more capable they are of taking into their own hands their health, I think the better we'll see for outcomes. But anyway, I dearly, dearly hope that all of my friends and family are safe and healthy. And if you've ever got any questions, you can always message me, and I will try to get back to you with an answer to your question. And if you find that this was helpful, just let me know, because it's a pretty long video, but I wanted to get this out into the world because I'm worried for people. So that's it. Mama T out. Have a safe and happy day.